All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Health Shop on Monday nights. Our regular topic tonight is what was supposed to be, and that's not out. Can't go outside or anything. So, medical, and then headaches and dizziness was kind of our secondary thing we talked about. I'm going to touch on that briefly. Dr. Chip's going to go through a lot of information on headaches and dizziness. My main thing, guys, is going to be talking about medical opposites, one of my favorites to talk about. There's a little history of what we're at here at Natural, what we're doing here, or what we do. Dr. Mark Hochul, I've been here for 38 years now, and we do clinical nutrition here, clinical work, clinical chiropractic, clinical energy work, and what that means is I'm twice board certified in clinical nutrition. What that means is we're where the rubber meets the road. Now, I watched a very interesting YouTube video today, two medical doctors in California talking about the COVID stuff, and they are doctors in the emergency room. They are where the rubber meets the road, the clinical people. And the press they were talking to was going on about, well, you know, Dr. Fucci and these guys, they're top virologists and blah, 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 blah. And you guys are just, you know, they're clinical people. Well, that's the trouble. The people that are doing these policies are in the ivory towers. They're just dealing with numbers and theories and things like that. Where we are, where the rubber meets the road, we are dealing with people, actual real human bodies. And so I think we actually know as much, or by far really more, than people that are doing models. That's just a little touch of what we're going to talk about tonight with medical opposites. I'm going to start with a little headaches and dizziness. So headaches for us is really pretty simple. The two main things we see here with headaches is usually upper cervical adjustment issues, chiropractic issues, the neck's out of place, blood supply is limited, lymphatic drainage is slowed, causing sinuses to be full, and that's very easily to handle with chiropractic adjusting. If the sinuses are full, the ears are irritated, the inner ears are, that's the dizziness, that's the vertigo part of things. Either again coming from the inner ear and inflammation there, or the brain itself, some of those centers have to deal with that. It can be circulatory, it can be lymphatic drainage, those kind of things, really fairly easy to fix. You know, headaches is such a simple thing. We've dealt with those for 38 years and had great results with those. And then the nutritional side of that really too is the big one we see is the liver congestion. If the livers are overloaded, and again, your livers are what handles your toxin load, lymphatic drainage, taking care of lymphatic drainage before it goes into the bile. If the liver's overloaded, which almost everybody's is that comes in here, 98% probably have liver overload because of all the toxins and all the junk we eat and everything else. Livers are overloaded, it's congested, it can't keep up. The lymph vessels and glands swell up, and it backs up into the sinuses. They overflow, it backs up, and the body can't get it through the liver, through the lymphatics. Again, either because of neck and upper back problems or because of lymphatic or liver congestion. And if we get the liver to decongest, we get the liver to get all the crap out, the sinuses drain, pressure comes off the head and inner ear, the vertigo goes away, the headaches go away. So rather than treat the body for headache, take an aspirin, how about fixing the liver so that the problem is gone? Again, looking at the cause, not the symptom. And so people that taking medication for headaches are actually making the symptom worse because they're congesting the liver even farther with the over-the-counter medication or over, you know, the prescribed medications. And again, most people that have the headaches and had them for a long time know that the progression was kind of got a headache, started using the over-the-counters, had to go to the MDs, got the migraines going on, all this stuff. It's a progression of bad. So get to the cause. We want to work on the cause. So that's a quick little thing on it. And again, when we do our nutrition response testing technique that we use in here, we figure out easily what the cause is that's going on, causing these headaches, causing the liver to be congested, or whatever else is a problem in the body that we can help with. Even such a things as overgrowth of yeast in the bowel, the toxins derived from the yeast can cause headaches. So, I mean, it's just all kind of things that cause headaches. You just don't want to cover them up with pain medication. Probably the worst thing you can do. for our health that way. And that's kind of what I'm going into the medical opposites. A good little talk here about medical opposites. And I can kind of go through the interesting trend that I have seen over many years of clinical experience and practice to medical opposites. And what I mean is that basically what mainstream medicine has basically told us, maybe for one reason or another at that time, it has become almost a dogma, a medical profession, then is actually not true. So there's quite a few of these. I'm going to catch some of the main ones tonight, but and I'll go wind up with what we're dealing with right now. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. Told us not to eat salt. So go back to that one. So salt. So mainstream medicine has told us not to eat salt because it causes high blood pressure. So and if you look at salt, we have to make a distinction here of what white salt or processed salt is, just like processed sugar, and what mineral salt or sea salt is. Mineral salt or sea salt has all the minerals in it that the body needs to utilize it correctly. Refined salt has been processed to the point where they take all the minerals out, sell those minerals to the cow feed manufacturers, and then we're stuck with the sodium chloride part. And that does cause problems. The body was never meant to have that problem, never meant to have that. That I can see could possibly be a problem with blood pressure, and because we eat it right along with all your potato chips and popcorn and all the other crap that high carbs in there too, which leads to high blood pressure as well. So the problem with it is again that difference between actual salt and sea salt, or sea salt and white salt. We got to know the difference there. Sea salt and salt is very important. Our sea salt, mineral salt, very important for the kidneys to work correctly. The kidneys don't work without salt. You have to have salt. It helps so much with the adrenal function, helping adrenal glands to have what they need to work with. Water balance, keeping fluid out of your fingers. You know, when people have the swollen fingers and things, the body's not getting fluid out. That drives blood pressure up too. So you have to have salt. Too little salt causes blood pressure issues. We have to realize that too. Lymphatic drainage, so important with getting the fluids, to have your lymphatic fluids to be fluid enough that they can drain out, not being hard, mucousy stuff, but actually drain the body of all the things the body wants, the trash the body wants cleaned out of the cells in there. For cooling, the body has to have salt so it can move water in the kidneys and the sweat glands so that you cool off. People that have heat prostration or heat stroke, whatever you want to call it, pass out from too much heat, what do they do with those people? What do the medics do to them? Well, they take them by a ambulance, and it's a big expensive deal. Take them to the emergency room. What do they put in them? An IV of salt water. So why don't you just have salt? But no, we got to make a big deal out of it and have salt water injected into them intravenously. And of course, it goes in and does a good job and that kind of thing, and the body's all better. So again, you know, that doesn't make sense, does it? That you can't have salt, but then when you have a problem with it, that they give you salt. And it's really very expensive too. That quarter teaspoon of salt that costs you $500. That's pretty amazing. And then let's see. Yeah, we've used salt forever with mankind to preserve foods, for our health, and of course it makes lots of money if you don't use it the right way. You can make money on IVs. Anyway, the next one we'll go into now is sugar. So that sugar is another term that has been oversimplified. The body does burn sugar. It can use glucose, and it breaks all carbohydrates down into glucose when you eat sugary things. Even like potatoes, which are complex carbohydrates, starch, it's broken down into simple sugar so the body can use it and burn it if it needs to. The better system of energy, though, is fats. But the body can get by on sugar. The problem is that we were never meant to have refined sugar. So the medical opposite here is that they respond with, they are allowing us to eat sugars. Say that one sugar is the same as another sugar. Sugar is sugar. So you can have plain white sugar, you can have sugar in fruit, you can have potatoes, whatever. It's all the same sugar. Well, it isn't. The sugar that is refined is a glycemic value that's very high, 100. That's how they make it with no minerals or co-factor vitamins correctly. So it robs the body of all the other minerals that it needs, and that is the immune system and all the other functions of the body, but it's especially the immune system. So we used to always do a little demonstration here where if you drink 1 can of Coke and 1 Twinkie, you ruined your immune system for the day. The body will shuttle all the vitamins from the immune system that it uses to burn the sugar. It likes sugar, it likes the energy, but we have to logically look at how this works and logically look at why our bodies are in such bad shape, why we're having all this problem with one little virus right now. Degenerative disease, this drives a degenerative disease, and it's very addictive. Sugar is more addictive, 10 times more addictive than cocaine, more addictive than alcohol, because the sugar is such a strong, processed sugar eaten, is such a strong drug that it drives the chemicals in the brain to make you addicted to it. And manufacturers love to use this against us so that we have to eat it. We just think we have to have that. We see diabetics in here that are allowed to eat sugar and carbs. I mean, I had people come in here that are eating oatmeal that are diabetics for breakfast because they've been told to by the medical folks. And again, it doesn't make any sense. You're starting a day with a big pile of sugar for a diabetic. That doesn't make any sense. So I mean, it's really important to understand these refined carbs are not what we need. And diabetes is going up, up, up in this country. So are we doing the right thing? No. And of course, diabetics then have lowered immune systems. They have suppressed immune systems, all of them. So again, what are we having problems with right now? Does any of this stuff make sense? No. There's 71 different names now for sugar and sugary products that are put in processed foods. Of course, it's good for business on both ends. The manufacturers make lots of money selling it to you. The medical people have lots of money repairing the damage done, if they can be done, and treating people that way. So it's important to realize that's a big medical opposite. The next slide on fats. The mainstream medicine has claimed many lies, and what that means is that we've been told, and this started with Eisenhower. President Eisenhower had a heart attack, and it was a big deal right then to find out what that was going on. And so this guy named Ansel Keys, he decided that it was due to cholesterol. That's the only thing, just cholesterol. So he ran on a campaign and was had enough power in the AMA and those medical circles that he got that set as policy. So now all we know about is cholesterol. Cholesterol, you can't have any fat because it might have cholesterol in it. And so there are essential fatty acids the body has to have to function correctly. And if we don't get good quality fats in our diet, we will be mineral deficient and vitamin deficient. And it's very important to realize that point. It's a bad medical opposite. Nobody makes the difference between good fats and bad fats. Of course, we don't want trans fats like fried foods. Fried foods are bad. We don't want those, and the government even knows that. That's why they've outlawed trans fats. They're trying to get people away from the trans fats in fried foods. But we got to have good fats. There's a distinction there between good fats and bad fats. So important there. And of course, when we're talking about fats, we have to realize that the liver is what absorbs and digests the fats, emulsifies the fats, so your body can absorb these fats and get the vitamins that come from our oil-soluble sources. Vitamin A, D, E, and K come from good fats. Now, what are the two vitamins right now that we are deficient in that make our immune systems not work correctly? Vitamin A and vitamin D. Those are oil-soluble vitamins, must come from fat sources. And just because you put that in your mouth does not mean it goes where it's supposed to go. The body has to be able to absorb it. And synthetic forms do not work like real, true foods do with vitamin D in there. You have to have the right kind of fats. The next one on digestion, the purple pill. Many people have problems with digestion, and as you age, your body loses the ability to stomach acid. And so you have to correct that. And most people that then, as they get older, to keep eating the same bad food combinations, the same carbs and junk that don't digest well. And so they start to develop hiatal hernias, gastric reflux, GERD, all this stuff. So what's the medical people do? Again, that's fine. They're treating the symptom. That's okay. It hurts. It's bad. That's fine. But they're not treating the cause. And the cause is the lack of digestion. So they're using the proton pump inhibitors to stop digestion, to stop the body's ability to absorb it. It stops the stomach's ability to produce stomach acid, which helps the symptoms a lot. The problem is it makes the problem worse. Then you're not absorbing any food. You're not digesting your food. It just goes on through. The bacteria rot it. So it's another thing you're not handling the cause. So important to realize that stomach acid is important. Digestion is so important for the body. This last one is so interesting to me, and it's something that it's something we've grown up with forever, and this pandemic right now is bringing this to a head. I'm seeing lots of sources on the videos that I watch on YouTube looking at the germ theory. Now, the germ theory is this deal where we think that one bug causes one thing that way, and that's not really true. Not even scientifically is it proven that one thing causes one thing. It's what's been accepted for years, and of course the medical people look at one bug causes one disease, and you use one medication for that thing. It's a treatment course, and it works fine. And again, if you have pneumonia and you have that bacteria in your lungs and you need antibiotics, by all means, go for it. You've got to save your life. It's important. It can be life-threatening. And medicine is excellent on acute care. They're so good at that. They've learned that from war experience and what medications are important for that. Don't get me wrong. We need the medical people. It's just that when it comes to the back end of that, on the health part, we're missing the boat. That's why degenerative disease is going up and diabetes is going up and all these problems are going up, and why right now we have lowered immune systems. Again, why we're not looking at the bioterrain. The bioterrain is the body's cells and things that have to do with immunity and how immunity works. Again, I was watching this program today on the two medical doctors, very smart guys and doing a lot of good in their field and doing excellent, but they were talking about the virus killing people. The viruses don't kill people. It's the poor immune system response that causes a cytokine storm, and that's what kills the person. It's the lack of a functioning immune system. So again, they even were tops in their fields looking at this germ theory, and there's just no proof that the coronavirus causes this. There's no empirical data. There's no scientific data. It's what we've grown to believe, but still there's a lot of fudging going on here. So and you may be seeing that in some of the sources that you get a hold of. They also are assuming the testing is correct. They're going by the numbers that the testing is just correct. And that's not always the case either. We're looking at other information that this test that's been used does not far this problem. So we're getting a lot of skewed numbers there. Let's see. Okay, good. A lot of this goes, and these medical opposites go on what they even call presumptive hypotheses. This word presumptive hypotheses means that they are presuming something is that way, and then with those colored glasses on, then they do research with that in mind. And that's not scientific. You're not supposed to prove a hypothesis. You're supposed to prove it wrong, but they're trying to prove it right, what they have thought. So the deal is there that a lot of the scientific papers we're getting are not true science. So that affects people's lives. Right now, it's having a huge effect on all our lives right now. That this is not the information that we need to know about. And it makes it very hard then for us to trust medical people when we see this information coming out. Another one that I'm getting that just kind of frustrates me is right now, in this state, we're going to have to wear masks coming May 1st all the time if we go out. Now, the interesting thing is the vice president of this country, who is the head of the coronavirus task force, and the the Surgeon General, both tell us not to wear masks because of the problems that the masks cause. So now we've got the government telling this, the government telling this, who's on first base, what's going on. So that makes it really hard for healthcare professionals like myself, and then even the general public to go, what's going on? Who should we trust? it makes it really hard. So I'm asking people to look at things in as much as you can scientific, non-emotional, logical way of all this information. That's why I wanted to bring up medical ops tonight to kind of forego some of the information on headaches and that. Kind of look at things yourself. Look at the logic involved with things, like this salt thing. Does that make any sense when salt has been around forever? We've always used salt. And I get so many people coming in here that don't eat any salt, and that causes most of their symptoms. I get them on some salt, the pH changes, their gut gets better, everything gets better because they're actually getting salt, they're actually hydrating. It's amazing. So anyway, that's enough of my soapbox tonight. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Chip. He's going to go into some more information, and we'll talk to you later. Great.
All right, that was pretty interesting there, a lot of good information. So Dr. Chip here, I'm going to talk about headaches and dizziness and how the gut and the brain are very affected with all that. So talking about headaches and dizziness, we want to make sure that we know what the causes are from. Now, we have three types of stress. There's a physical stress, such as falling or different motions that we're performing, not proper motions, or just different tasks that we do. Nutritional or chemical, again, the foods that we eat and the chemicals in our environment, could be stuff in our water, in the air, anything like that. And then our emotional or thoughts. And Eddie will kind of talk a bit more about the fear. But again, it's very important is that if we keep telling ourselves something like, we're not good enough, or why am I always having this headache, or why am I always having dizziness, that's going to cause you to have dizziness or headache. So it's good to make sure that you kind of keep track of what you're thinking throughout the day, and knowing that that can be an actual cause to the issue. Now, for all these causes, again, it doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be an accumulation of all these things. And so headaches or dizziness is usually just the red light on the dashboard, the symptom saying, or your body saying, hey, there is something going on that you need to address, or else you might have further issues. So again, the body is a whole system. Why do we look at the headaches and think, oh, there's a problem in this area, and we have to do something in this area to help mitigate the issue? Well, it's not always the case. It could be that there's something else in the body that's giving you a issue in the brain. So we'll kind of keep going here. And so again, all those three different forms, it could be one, could be two, could be all three, that causes an unbalanced body. It causes you could say a diseased body. So when the body is unbalanced, our regulatory system, our autonomic nervous system, gets thrown off. And this autonomic nervous system is very important for digestion, for healing, for heart rate, for breathing, for all kinds of processes that you do not think about during your day. It's always happening. And so when the stress is too much, our bodies get thrown off out of balance. And now we cannot heal properly. We can't digest properly. We can't have a good heart rate. If blood pressure goes up or something is out of tune, then we could have issues such as headaches or dizziness. And again, kind of the unbalanced thing can make kind of you think that, okay, now you feel dizzy. And we'll talk about a little bit more about there's other little things that go on with that. So there's two different systems. The fight or flight system, probably more familiar with, sympathetic, kind of more tense. You're more tense throughout the day. And if that system is always activated throughout the day, again, you're throwing your body off of balance. If the parasympathetic, more of your rest and digest system, that's more of a calming system. So most people are more thrown in that sympathetic, tense state to where now you're off balance. And if you stay off balance for too long, of course, you could have symptoms such as dizziness or headaches. And so this is the gut-brain connection. This is a review or some research here. There's a little quote there. It says, there's a growing body of literature demonstrating improvement or resolution of headaches following management of accompanying GI disorders. So it's your gastrointestinal system, it's your gut. So it's just saying is that a change in your diet, a change in nutrition, actually figuring out what you're eating and paying attention to the things that you're eating can play a huge role in headaches. Now, these problems here, these people were having reflux, constipation, abdominal pain, inflammatory bowel dis-ease, and celiac dis-ease. And so in those cases, these people were having headaches. Now, why is that? It's because the gut is very connected to the brain, and that we need to make sure that if we're having headaches, if we're having these issues, why not look at the foods that we're eating first, and the other two stresses that we talked about, such as your physical stress, could be that you're not moving enough throughout the day, or you're moving too little, moving too much or too little, or it could be the emotional thought factor. So again, the gut brain, or your gut, it actually makes up more serotonin, which is a brain chemical, more than your brain itself. So you would think that, okay, maybe I should look at the foods I'm eating, because a lot of those brain chemicals are actually coming from the gut. And so again, serotonin is good for mood, sleep, energy, appetite, and relaxation. And it's just important that we know this is a crucial factor. Again, why would you, if you go into an office and you have headaches, why wouldn't this be the first thing that you look at? Your diet. It's a very easy thing to change. Dr. Mark, the nutrition response testing work he does plenty help with a lot of people with that. Just getting the right nutrition and helping to fix the diets up. And if you ever need advice, and we're always here to help. But again, it's just a very simple change that you can make, and that people aren't telling people this. So again, just another important factor. Now, with the headaches and dizziness, it could be something going on with the nerve connection. Again, with chiropractic adjusting, we help the body realign itself so that the nerves are flowing properly and that the brain is having less stress. And so with the cervical nerves, your neck nerves coming from here, those go towards your different facial structures, your ears, so that pressure that could be a headache, your dizziness that could be causing from the kind of the inner ear, kind of making you off balance, that if that nerve flow is not properly flowing there, it's not getting the right communication from the brain, or it's not getting the right signals from kind of vice versa, then you could be having problems. And so now the body or the brain really can't tell where the body is at in space. That's your kind of your sixth sense, your proprioception. And so it doesn't know where it's at, so it's kind of having this weird sensation of dizziness. And so again, we're talking about the foods, kind of the gut being very important. The thoracic nerves, your back, upper back, middle back nerves there, that's very good for the gut. So if you're not having the proper nerve supply to the gut, and the gut can't perform properly, then you could have more gut issues too, leading to headaches or dizziness or other things like that. And then again, the vagus nerve is a long cranial nerve coming from the brain to the gut. And so and that's just another detail to say, hey, the gut issue could be affecting your brain, causing headaches or dizziness, or stress on the brain can be affecting your gut, then can be affecting your brain. It's just a very interesting loop that you can have. So it's always important to know that your body is a whole system, and that in order to get well and healthy, you have to treat it like a whole system. So again, the brain is kind of more of your conductor. It's telling all the other organs what to do. So why not making sure that the stress on your brain is very minimal? Again, with chiropractic adjusting, we help decrease that stress off the brain. We help plenty of people with anxiety. We help people all sorts of cases. And so again, why not mitigate that stress, lower that stress, so that all the organs that your brain is communicating to has less stress and is able to perform properly. So that's all from me, short and sweet. We'll go ahead and give it to Eddie, and he'll talk about fear.
Thanks, Dr. Chip. I'm going to go over fear as it comes to emotions. You know I love my subconscious mind as well as quantum physics, but I always keep bringing it up. But yet again, we always look at, everything is energy. And that is all there is to it. You match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help to get that reality. And I want to just emphasize that we are in such an important time that a lot of this, philosophical kind of understandings is now backed up by science, which now we're looking at quantum physics, and it ties in very, very, very closely with thoughts and emotions. Now, I wanted to emphasize a little bit more of what's going on with all this quantum physics stuff, because when we look at every single atom, that little itty bitty thingy, it's 99.999% empty space or energy. So that little part, I think it's a neutron, or the electron is going around there. We think it's going out every other which way, but it's more of a wave-like pattern. So if we remove it, pretty much the empty space from all the atoms, from all the people, we can fit it all inside of a sugar cube. So I want to get the emphasis that every single atom is mostly energy, and we can base that off of thoughts and emotions. So if we look at there, if there's, I don't even know how to say this one, but if there's this many atoms in each cell, and if that's pretty much all energy, and if we base that off of that many cells in the body, we can state that this is so much energy coming to play. And then I want to get an emphasis on how it pertains to the actual human protein coding genes, which goes into the cell. Now, a way that the science is approaching epigenetics when it comes to thoughts and emotions, you can state here, we have the gene itself. The gene is just the blueprint. However, if we want to look at epigenetics or the expression of that gene, we can state that the stress in our lives, when it comes to the environmental stress, we can see that our thoughts and emotions can actually down-regulate a gene. So for instance, if we have fear, fear is a very dominant emotion that can actually cripple the gene itself. So if we have unease, anxiety, tension, stress, worry, over time, it could down-regulate that gene. So for instance, if I have a healthy gene, but I start expressing more fear, it'll start down-regulating that gene. And now we can kind of go back. If I have a down-regulated gene, go and emphasize to every single cell in the body, we can go and do a direct correlation of how these emotions and thoughts are playing a big role here. And I always bring up the subconscious mind because when we look at quantum physics, and there's actually research backing it up that there's brain scans, not in the actual on the brain, but there's scans that there's actually a probe that's kind of outside of the brain, and they can find out that there's things going into the actual brain. This probe, if you can see it, I don't even know a minute. If it's way up here, you can see that the thoughts and emotions are coming into the brain, and that's where we can state that our subconscious mind is at. So if you have your subconscious mind programmed by the habits of thinking fear, 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 well, you're programming the subconscious mind to keep on bringing those thoughts in your subconscious mind to your brain, and it's going to reflect into your body. So it holds all your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. So that's why it's very important that if we get rid of fear and put in positive emotions, we can start up-regulating those genes as well. And I want to bring this and emphasize too, which is just a pretty neat study. And it says the scientific studies have shown that water not only has memory, but its structure is affected by the emotions of people. The water molecules change their position when it interacts with a positive or negative emotion. The structure of water is more important than the composition. Scientists concluded that water molecules act as memory cells and record an entire history of the interaction within the outside world. So if we're looking at all the water inside of the body, we can put it in the same standpoint of how the subconscious mind is as it relates to us. They've had scientific research backing it up that the thoughts and emotions are programmed from outside of the body. When we look at kind of the energy field, we can call it the torus, but there's this big energy field around us, and we can state that same exact thing of the water inside of our body that is actually storing all of our emotions and thoughts, which if our brain is 80% water, we can state that not just in the water, but the energy around the water is actually holding on to these emotions. So we've got to find a way to get rid of this stuff. And it's been proven, yet again, if we freeze these molecules, these water molecules, this is thank you, wisdom, truth, peace, you fool. Angel, I love you. This is a perfect symmetrical part of it. You make me sick. Evil. So we can find out that even the structure, if we freeze up that molecule water, it actually holds a memory from the thoughts and emotions that are tied into your subconscious mind. So this is a big one by Dr. Shiva. He kind of bases around here. If we have some fear-mongering issues going on in our news, we can state that this, social isolation or, unemployment can find ourselves kind of really kind of honing into our thoughts and using that fear over and over again. What about this happens? What if I don't know how to pay the bills, or so on and so forth? We're start painting a picture in our mind, and we're programming our subconscious mind, which is essentially causing a dysregulation or disease to ourselves. So this isolation is causing a lot of anxiety and depression. But we want to look at another standpoint, because a lot of this anxiety, depression, not only by the cell standpoint, it is down-regulating our gene, or it's immunosuppression. So we want to kind of change that around, and we can kind of state that when we have a weakened immune system, we will have disease in the body. But as always, a great alternative to it is to be aware of those thoughts coming in. The awareness is very powerful, and it's a crowning achievement of a human being. We can actually be aware of what thoughts that we're thinking. If there's fear coming in, what am I going to do about this? What if this happens? Let's be aware of it, and then let's change it. Let's change it to a much more positive, such as like love, peace, and joy. Find a way, to change it. But really, when we're in this isolation period, we go into this everyday world, and we're such in this chase, try to get everything done, and we just pray that we can have this vacation going in the summer. Well, during this isolation period, we just take time for ourselves and find the true love, peace, and joy inside of our subconscious mind and really program that in. Because once we get it programmed, we can find out that we can have much more regulated proteins, and our genes and expression of life will be much, much more rich. So we want to rid the negativity when it comes to our negative emotions, and you'll find out that this will strengthen this immune system. Dr. Chip told a little bit about the 3 stressors that we have in the body, nutritional toxins, physical traumas, as well as emotional thoughts. So we can find out that this is actually strengthening, and we can strive as being a very healthy being. So when we look at quantum physics, everything is energy. And my question is for you is, what emotional frequencies, because all of these emotions and these thoughts have frequencies behind it, because everything is energy. So what frequencies do you have stored in your mind? Is it a bunch of fear going on? I mean, the question kind of comes to is essentially the environment around you is actually a direct reflection of it. So what is your environment looking like when you're living in? Is it kind of stressful? Is it fearful? Is it anxiety filled, worry, depression? Find it out and see if we can change those thoughts and make it more positive mind, which can direct correlate to the environment that you're living in. So that's all I had for emotional thoughts. Our next health shop, as of right now, it's going to be the women's hormonal system, and that's going to be on May 4th. We very well might change it or put some more things into it. But other than that, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to be with us today. Please share, like, love Natural Health Quincy, Illinois on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Natural Health Quincy on YouTube and Brighteon. You can always give us a call to schedule an appointment at 217-228-2040, and we're at 2000 Jefferson, Quincy, 62301. Thank you.